Hey, happy Good Friday. Unless you're Jesus, we're going to talk about what that all means right now. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 57 of the Faith and Whatever podcast. We are here today talking about Good Friday. Not if you're Jesus, am I right? What's up?
Hey, there's a
Hey-o. That was a death joke.
Oh, Jesus joke.
There's a girl out there that was very upset you didn't say what's up to her.
Yeah, that's okay. We're growing as we evolve. Just kidding. What's
win.
up, girl? We are back at it again with an epileptic episode of the excellent 57th
Let's just offend some
season.
more
That's
people.
offensive.
Epileptus.
Trigger word.
Anyway,
Eucalyptus?
we're talking about Good Friday today and why something is so awful in historical circumstances ends up being so good for us and the rest of humanity. I'm joined, as always, by the one and only Garrett Gearhart, Jamothy, and Christopher, who is off camera and functioning as the voice of God today. Guys, so Good Friday.
Is that Morgan Freeman?
You're already done.
Right.
God.
So as we gotta get through this, guys. I need you to be serious. Good Friday is the time in the Christian calendar that is, in my estimation, the single most important day of the year. Maybe second. No, it goes Resurrection, Good Friday, Christmas. As far as the
but
three
Christmas is where it starts.
Yeah,
I
but
thought it was
Christmas
Halloween.
is pointless without the resurrection attached to it.
But you can't have a resurrection without Christmas.
That's true. So which came first, the chicken for the egg? Hint, you're both wrong. It's the resurrection. So we're talking about Good Friday,
But
which
I
is
did
neither
give
of those
some
2 days. And this is the part in the Christian calendar that represents the day that Jesus was marched out of Jerusalem into Golgotha and was crucified. And as Christians, we identify it as the kind of event that bridges the gap.
And some calendar disputes aside, I mean, this is actually a
Here
historical
we go.
day.
The best part of the show.
This is actually a historical day that we are celebrating.
Yeah.
Unlike Christmas, which is like just a total fabrication of
Yeah.
Right.
events.
And Halloween, which is actually a Christian holiday.
How come all these Christian holidays have chocolate?
And
Is that like just
Wait a
'cause we're
minute.
Americans and we're
I think
fatties?
largely because they're all fertility prayers to the goddess and goddesses of
Whatever pagan.
bunnies
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right? Easter we have chocolate. Christmas Advent calendars have chocolate. We
And
just really love
chocolate's
chocolate
awesome.
and Jesus.
Just marketing. How can we sell chocolate to
Jesus
Christians?
was made of chocolate.
Chocolate Jesus.
J-Choc. So today we're going to be talking about just kind of a little bit of a historical background of it, but really just I'm going to add a little historicity in there and why we celebrate Good Friday and the value of it. So James, we'll go ahead and start with you, whatever contribution you want to make.
Oh, are we doing this?
Yeah, dude, go for it.
Okay,
Well, I
okay.
mean, I can start us off, but I figured
I'll
you
tell you what, I'm going to give you a thought that was in my sermon this Sunday.
better not steal my thought about the three
I
crosses.
skipped Palm Sunday this year and just preached about Good Friday. And
Sinner.
What are you gonna preach on Good
hey,
Friday?
save palm trees.
Good Friday gives
I'm not going to preach on Friday. I'm going to go visit my family.
So yeah, you just moved
Okay.
it. You just stole it.
Selfish.
So, actually, in the Orthodox calendar, or I say the traditional Christian calendar is what I mean to say, you can switch Palm Sunday out for a Good Friday service. So.
Classic.
Anyway, so, I like to think about the iconography of certain things, and an interesting thing that
What is iconography?
Thank you.
well,
I mean, I know what it is, but I'm just asking for a friend.
sort of the icons,
Yeah.
the imagery we use to
Symbolism.
represent certain things and what it does to us.
I call it semiotics.
The effect it has upon us, and the iconography of Good Friday. Obviously, it's a cross, but there's two ways to represent the cross. There's just the plain cross, the crucifix, right,
Boring.
with maybe Jesus on it or not. But then there's also the three crosses, and I think people often don't think about the significance of the image of the three crosses, which of course Jesus is always the middle one. It's usually a bit taller and bigger, and then there's two flanking crosses.
Which we save that for this time of year, right? Like
Right.
that could be symbolism to use in various ways, but we save it for Good Friday almost.
Right, and it's representing the crosses of two people. These were probably not their names, but it's the names that church tradition has given them to remember them, and it's Gentis and Dismas. Gentis being
Phineas and Ferb.
Gentis being the criminal who was on one side of Jesus and was not very nice, and Dismas being the criminal who's on the other side of Jesus.
I didn't know we had
crucified.
names. Do they mean something? Is that why we gave them those names?
I don't know a whole lot. I just know that that's
You
the
need to play
traditional
Uncharted
names.
4 if you want to find out more about
Yeah,
that.
that's true. And Dismas,
Really?
who is the
Yeah.
one that places his hope in Jesus in the end there. So, and the imagery that when you think about the single cross, that gives the idea to your mind about what Christ did on the cross for sinners and for sins and for the people of the world, right? But when you look at the three crosses, there's like sort of an expanded idea that it's not just what Jesus did, which is the most important part, but also the human story that's surrounding that story of Jesus. That as Jesus is dying on the cross for sinners and to fulfill God's plan, you have the criminal on one side who's criticizing Jesus along with the crowds, who's throwing vile words at him, saying awful things, and is in a sense, one of those crosses is representation of one reaction to the cross,
right.
One reaction to what Christ is doing, which is to be sarcastic, to be nasty, to be critical of it, to hate it and be angry about it. And then the other cross, the cross of Dismas, is Dismas in the story in the Gospel of Luke. He's the one that says to Jesus, when you come into your kingdom, remember me.
Yeah.
And Jesus says, truly, I tell you, this day you'll be with me in paradise. And so what we have in that third cross, that other cross, is the other response to Jesus and what he does upon his cross. And that is the response of one placing hope in Christ's death, one placing oneself even in desperation in the work of Christ and what Christ can do. And so you have, by the way, this isn't an original idea. I first read this while reading one of the books of Barbara Brown Taylor. I can't remember which book. And, she really paints this picture of the three crosses, right? There's the work of Christ, but then there's the negative reaction that's represented in one cross and the positive reaction represented in the other cross.
That's such a cool imagery.
And it's the entire human story as well as Christ's story wrapped up into one.
That's really brilliant.
Yeah, and I think that is really a great way of understanding Good Friday and the iconography of Good Friday.
Yeah. Where do you go from there, though? If those crosses represent those groups and those decisions,
well, where do you go? Good question. You look at Jesus' reaction to both. So there's the reaction we all like to remember, which is Dismas. Jesus says to him, "You'll be with me in paradise," and you see that.
That's why baptism isn't required.
For the one. You just dropped that bomb.
Well, we'll get one dislike, so it's better than nothing.
We'll get back to that on another video.
What do you
You have.
We know who's not getting
I
a job at
disagree
Oasis.
with you on that, but we'll talk about that on another video.
It happened. You can't argue with that.
So anyway, you have the human positive response to what's going on in the cross, and Jesus inviting that person into eternity with him. But the other side that always needs to be remembered is even the person who rejects Christ and is vile towards Christ, his response to that, to those filthy, nasty words is, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do."
Yeah.
And so you still have mercy even in the other side of the three crosses. You have Jesus' response to that isn't, well, go to hell, right? His response, very literally, right?
Jesus was a good guy to the very end.
Yeah, Jesus' response is a
Good guy,
merciful, sympathizing, possibly empathizing response to all of that.
He's like, yeah, I know what it feels like, man. It sucks. It sucks up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like this. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't want to cloud or murky the kind of what you put out there, because that's I'd never heard that before. You told me that off air, and that's a really beautiful picture to me. You have anything that looks valuable about Good Friday for you?
I mean, I really like Good Friday, and one of the things that I've experienced in the last few years is I've been part of a couple churches that have done Tizay services for Good Friday.
How do you spell that?
Tizay.
Tizay?
T-I-Z.
Okay,
that sounds like a hipster way of saying today.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he was like
how you doing
faux shizzling it, right?
I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's typically a very dark service, a very solemn and melancholy service. Stab. You do on Good Friday, and at first it was a little bit different than my experience growing up. How you treat Good Friday, the good part is talked about a lot, and you kind of ignore the fear and the pain and the experience of the apostles.
Right.
And so I was a part of one church where we had to turn off all the lights, and we had faux lightning and thunder happening with like strobe lights, and it was loud, and it was uncomfortable to sit in this moment that the service, the worship arts team created. but I really like to connect my emotions with my relationship with God. And so
You're one of those.
I'm kind of a sensey. So I wanted, I like to feel that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I like to take that moment of Good Friday and put myself in the disciples' shoes where Jesus is gone and I don't really believe he's coming back.
Yeah. In the Gospel of John, chapter 21, when the resurrected Jesus first appears before the apostles, they are locked in a house praying ceaselessly for fear of the Jews, it says. And that's and when Gospel John says for fear of the Jews, it's not making like a racial remark. What it's trying to say is that it's in the country land of the Jewish people. It's like for saying for fear of the Americans, meaning the country around them.
Yeah.
And they're in a bad spot. Yeah. They're hiding. They are praying. They have spent this weekend of theirs thinking that they could die any day because their leader was just crucified.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I like to put my own fear and doubt in that moment, and not be so ignorant or not be so passé in my faith that I ignore those kinds of feelings that come up, and think, oh, Good Friday, just another day. Cool, he came back on Easter. But instead, put my own doubt and fear into that and know that those strongest before me and those closest to Jesus also felt those same things. So it's not something to be ashamed of, but something to just kind of live into and feel that and be okay in that moment that you're not sure if Jesus is coming back.
Yeah.
T-A-I-Z-E, by the way.
T-A-I-Z-E.
What's the definition of that?
The service or?
Today or just in general, I guess?
Ecumenical monastic order in Burgundy, France.
Ron Burgundy, France?
Yeah, founded in 1940.
Okay, so that's fairly recent. That's pretty neat.
Founded in 1940. Yeah, that's recent.
I mean, recent-ish. It's better than what I'm about to talk about. Chris, you got anything?
Happy Easter to our Orthodox friends.
Right.
Our Easter actually lines up this year with theirs.
Yeah.
My wife's family
For 1 year, we can all get along about the calendar.
Nope, it means that...
What's the 1 year they're finally right?
No.
Step.
No, now it means that I used to
Matt.
I used to have 2 Easters, and then there was never, like, the married families, the in-laws, there was never any issue, right? Like, Greek Easter with my wife's family and Easter with...
Oh, now you guys get to spin it apart, each with the daughter?
No, but now...
She goes to her family, you go to the right
now we
family?
have to do, like...
I mean, the right, like, celebration. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
It
pretty
sounds
good.
like those Orthodox celebrations are pretty good.
Yeah, they're a lot better than ours in terms of food.
No, the lamb is always overcooked.
What?
Wow.
Sorry, Uncle Jim.
Wow, that is
Well, we
racist.
usually have baseball hats full of crappy plastic grass and chocolate. So
Yeah, and you can't eat the grass. Not that I've tried. So my
Everything
favorite
in
thing,
this basket is edible.
my favorite thing about Good Friday is actually
kidding, Mom, we
not
love Easter.
Friday. It's the Monday through Thursday part, and so this is I preached about this morning, but this term for me has become extremely pertinent.
Say that term again, by the way.
In the last couple of years, the Holy Week in general,
Okay.
right? Holy Week leading up to Good Friday is extremely valuable to me because of this Monday through Thursday thing. So I've made it a point in the past couple of years to try and practice and participate in this understanding of self-death. And so thinking about the way that Jesus willingly kind of goes in and knows what lies ahead of him, again, assuming a lot of things there, knows what's lying ahead of him at the end of the week.
Gospels
Present that, certainly,
present
right?
him as knowing where he's headed.
And so I think largely in the idea of, I think it's in Luke, right, when Jesus is weeping over, is it Luke 19? Something like when Jesus is weeping over Jerusalem before he enters into it? Or is that in Luke 9?
No, it's in neither one of those. It's right in between them somewhere. But
Okay.
yeah, he weeps over Jerusalem.
So the idea of Jesus weeping over the city of Jerusalem as he's getting ready to kind of begin that final march into what is assured death makes me think about my own life in terms of the kind of cause and effect of the relationship that I'm leading with Christ. And I think of it like this. The gospel is not good news to me because it represents what happens to me after I die, right? The gospel is largely, in effect, good news because of what it does to inform the way that I can live now. And I think that's a big thing that I struggled with growing up because especially the evangelical movement, we do a lot of, we have Palm Sunday, we have Good Friday, and then we have Easter, right? And so we have this Monday through Thursday and Saturday deficit that kind of occurs within our calendar system. And so it leaves us, to me, it leaves such a lacking, right? Because we're only examining 3 out of the 7-day calendar, or 3 out of the 7-day period. And so my desire, I guess, for the last while has been to encounter Jesus in the Monday through Thursday and in the Saturday, more so than the Friday and the Sunday, because I know I'm going to get a lot out of that, right? I understand that I'm going to experience, a very moving and powerful ecumenical service and have a good ecumenical experience there.
How do you do that?
The Monday through Thursday side?
Yeah.
So this is kind of what I've come up with recently. I was talking with James last week, and I was asking him about this really cool place that's like way out in the middle of nowhere, where there's like this really fun labyrinth that you can kind of walk in. And so I went there, and I was a part of it. And
It's called a prayer labyrinth.
yeah, and like these. By the way, is it open 24/7?
I think it might be.
Okay.
Is it outside?
Yeah, because it's outside.
It's outside, but it's on private property.
So like
Technically.
I pulled up at like 10:50, right, and nobody's there, and so I'm just kind of sitting in this church parking lot. Which, being familiar with churches, you kind of know like not very many cops are going to drive through here, so it's not a big deal or whatever. But there was like a giant, what seemed to be like a parsonage right behind it. Did you see that place, James?
No.
Have you ever been there?
No.
So
I've been there, but I don't remember seeing a parsonage.
Yeah, so it's like a giant house behind it essentially, and so like I crack the gate in or lift up the little handle thing, and you just hear this
Crack the gate.
as you push the thing forward, and like I'm walking on all this brush. But I began to pray ultimately for this idea of what it would look like to encounter God on God's terms there, because the death of Jesus is on God's terms throughout the entire really 4 gospels there, right? Like there's you can call it the human side of Jesus, whatever you want to label it as, but there's a huge part of Jesus that doesn't want to die there, right?
Yeah.
And there's that conversation that God or that Jesus has with God, but the ultimate yielding of Jesus's will even to the Father is extremely important to me. And so I began applying that same ideology to mainly my prayer life and my devotional life, prior to thinking so many times when I'm praying, I'm talking to or at God. And I don't make if I'm honest, I don't make a lot of room for dialogue in those conversations, right? Because dialogue involves listening, right?
Yeah.
And so in this Monday through Thursday period, especially during Holy Week, I want to make myself available by carving out chunks of time in each day to do something that allows me to just simply say, God, I'm here. I don't know if you have anything to say to me. Again, I'm not a special mouthpiece. I'm not like this overly religiously holy, awesome, whatever.
Yeah, you're just a pastor.
I'm just a normal guy who wants to experience, whatever it is that might be. And so just the discipline of, I think, showing up for me has been a huge value add, to my faith. And it's taught me a lot about just being silent before the Lord and present in God's presence. And so that has been my big marker, I guess. That's what kind of Good Friday has represented to me in this life stage of just understanding, like, Palm Sunday's great, Good Friday's, like, I have these really good bookends, like I know it starts here and I know it ends here kind of thing. And so I've only got to try for this many days and not be burnt out, and I can just give it my best for, X amount of time. And so that's what I have found to kind of be my takeaway for not just Good Friday, but Holy Week in general, I think. And, I appreciate the death, obviously, like that's the cornerstone of my existence, and it's everything. It informs everything I do and say and think, hopefully. But as I'm growing older, I guess I'm becoming less concerned with just the repeat celebration of Good Friday, and more about the implying of what those changes are supposed to mean for me in my Monday through Thursday, I guess. So my good Monday, my good Tuesday, my good Wednesday, my good Thursday, and trying to especially participate in the idea of self-death a little bit each days, those weeks of this week, because it's kind of symbolically participating in what Jesus did, and then ultimately culminating in that celebration together, on a Good Friday.
Don't you think that it would allow you, that'll mean a lot more? Good Friday and Easter, spending time connecting with God and aligning your will with His.
Yeah,
with
I hope so. I mean, you
gotta be careful though. You might start revolting against Easter chocolate, egg hunts on Sunday.
I don't eat chocolate.
You might be like, cancel the egg.
The bounce house.
Yeah, the Sunday morning Easter egg hunt.
It's so, and no, we just stuffed 800 eggs today. I'm hoping those kids don't find them so I can have some.
Our church has just done away with that.
And I'm totally.
Actually, the kids find Easter eggs, and inside of them is the story of the resurrection.
That's so disappointing to me as a child. Like I would be
I'd be
so pissed.
It's like the $20 bill that's not really a.
What do you do? I mean, why do you have to have an Easter egg hunt on church? It's just ridiculous.
Because it's just a simple way.
So I have a little fact check of all the fact checkers checking us. It's not a Taizé service. That's the Good Friday. It's a Tenebrae service.
Oh.
Sorry, I got my French-based services confused.
Oh, that was silly of you. So, Chris, you got any thoughts or?
Nope.
There, okay. I think you got anything you want to say, or we're good? We're at about 23 minutes, so.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for stopping by. Let us know
Good
what
Friday
you're planning
to
to do for Good Friday. I don't know. I'm pretty excited for it this week. Thanks so much. We'll connect with you soon.
Peace be with you.
And also with you, James.